Hello guys and welcome to another video. If you're like me and you're eagerly awaiting the release of PUBG or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds on the Xbox consoles, then I know for a fact you're looking for any little piece of information about this game's release, and I'm here to bring some information to you today. It's not a massive leak, but it is something which I did find quite interesting when I'd stumbled across it. It's a button mapping for an Xbox controller, so this shows us what each button does in the game once it's going to be released on Xbox. As you can see here, there's a diagram that's been released by Windows Central, and we're going to have a quick look at this as well as two other pictures which I have found on the internet that involve controls. We're going to go into detail about these buttons, and then I've got two other photos which possibly leak a couple other controls. Nothing too major, but it's still quite interesting. So first of all, starting up on the left trigger, if you're in first person, it will be a matter of tapping to go down the sights and then tapping to get back out. Personally, I don't like that, but to be honest, I think I'll be playing this game mostly in third person anyway, because there seems to be a lot of benefits in doing that, which I'm not going to go into. If you've seen PUBG videos, I'm sure you understand. Moving down to the left analog stick, this lets us move, which is probably the most obvious thing that this controller scheme could have told us. And then sprinting is by clicking in the left stick. Of course, that was also expected. Interestingly though, it says to lean, you want to aim and click the stick in. But thinking about the game, if you're moving the left stick and then clicking it in, that's just going to start you sprinting, I'm pretty sure. Unless if you're doing it in a forward direction, that makes you sprint, and if you're doing it in a left or right direction, then it's going to make you lean. I'm not too sure, but from this diagram, that's the gist that I get. Moving down to the D-pad now, change fire mode, which is up on the D-pad. So this is to change your weapon from single shot, burst shot, and fully automatic. Once again, fairly standard for most shooters nowadays. Left on the D-pad is to switch weapon. I imagine right will probably do the same, possibly. Down lets you holster your weapon. From what I've seen of PUBG gameplay, I'm not sure why you'd want to holster your weapon. Maybe it's just something I've completely missed. If it's an option, then I'm sure it makes you run faster, or that there's some sort of benefit to it. Otherwise, what's the point in having it there? I never remember what these two center buttons are supposed to be on the Xbox One, so I'm going to call the left one button 1 and the right one button 2. Button 1 is linked to the map, so that'll obviously bring up your map screen where you can see the area slowly closing down in true PUBG fashion, and I imagine pressing that again will let you exit the map. And then button 2 is coded to the inventory, and from there you'll be able to choose what you want to equip, what you want to use, once again in true PUBG fashion. I've got a bit more about the inventory system coming up a little bit later in the video, so stay tuned for that. Up to the right trigger now is fire weapon. I think that was an obvious one. Moving down to RB, that's to change your perspective. That will flick you between first person and third person, and interestingly it says to detach the camera you want to hold RB. I'm not quite sure what that means. Maybe if you're spectating someone and you hold it down, it will detach the camera so you can move it around freely. That's sort of the best guess I've got to that. I mean, if you know what that means, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. Now, this is the one that's caused a bit of chaos. Y being reload. Personally, I really hope you can remap the buttons, just because X is like the universal button for reloading, and considering they've made X interact or pick up, so for example opening doors, getting in vehicles, etc., I would much rather that was Y and X was reload. B is to crouch or go prone. I presume by holding it down that lets you lie down. That tends to be the normal thing, and then by tapping it that takes you to crouching position, and then you're standing back up again. And of course A has been mapped to jump. Down to the right stick, unexpectedly, this is the camera panning around, and once again it has got the option for look lean, which is aiming and clicking, similar to actually leaning I imagine, but just with the camera. And that covers the controller mapping pretty briefly, but some pretty cool information there. I said earlier that I had a little bit more information on the inventory system, so here you go. Here is the traditional inventory that you see once you're playing Battlegrounds, and using the mouse it is so quick to quickly click and drag anything that you want to equip over from the left to the right hand side of the screen. This of course isn't possible on Xbox because we don't have a mouse and keyboard. I found a statement from them saying the pre-established drag and drop system has now been abandoned on Xbox One, with item management shortcuts bound to buttons instead. Once you're in the inventory, the right thumbstick is used to navigate the on-screen item columns, and then the X button becomes the button which lets you equip or consume items, and then Y is the button to drop items on the ground. A hold down of Y will split anything in half, so ammo halved, bandages halved, and I'm glad they thought of these things, because it's little things like that which would be so frustrating if you're in the middle of a firefight or quickly need to get bandages to someone but don't want them to have them all. Finally, I found a screenshot of the in-game map, but instead of the key on the right hand side being for a PC, they're actually for the Xbox controller. So once again, this might be a normal thing if you're playing with a controller on PC, I don't know, but for you Xbox people that are going to want to know what the buttons do, here's what they'll do on the map. So the right stick lets you pan across the map, which once again is a very standard thing now in video games when you're looking at the map. The A button, it says places a marker on the center. I'm presuming this isn't the center of the map because that wouldn't be very useful. I imagine this is for the shrinking arena so that you can quickly place a marker right in the center of where you need to be, and you can start heading that way before you start dying. And then finally the B button will remove that marker, and that's about it. Like I said, it's not the most amazing new information, but it's certainly interesting because us Xbox players are wanting all the information we can get about the up and coming release of this game on our console. Literally, I cannot wait for this to come out. I'm going to be jumping on that as soon as possible. Fingers crossed it's not too far away. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to smash a like down below. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe. Once again, thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.